You think you know American cars? Think again. Not every classic was a legend. Some were so dangerous, so overpowered, or so disastrously designed that even their own companies tried to erase them from history. These weren't your average flops. They were banned, buried, or quietly killed off before they could hurt anyone else, or embarrass the brand. Why? Frames that twisted like pretzels, brakes that couldn't stop, engines that nearly tore themselves apart. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 12 of the most forbidden American cars ever conceived. Each one tells a story of ambition gone too far, of engineers who pushed the limits, and sometimes went right over the edge. So, pour that coffee, sit back, and buckle up. Because these aren't just cars, they're cautionary tales, lost legends, and jaw-dropping mistakes. Let's see which one shocks you the most. Number 12, the 1960 Plymouth Belvedere. Can you imagine cruising down Main Street in 1960 in a glamorous Plymouth convertible, top down, chrome gleaming, and under the hood, a 383 cubic inch V8 delivering over 350 horsepower? It sounded like the American dream, but this dream turned into a nightmare on wheels. The problem? That much power in a full-size open-top body with no real structural rigidity was a disaster waiting to happen. The frame would twist under hard acceleration, making handling sloppy and unpredictable. The brakes were woefully inadequate for a car weighing over 4,200 pounds, turning emergency stops into terrifying gambles. Young drivers, lured by the speed and flash, found themselves behind the wheel of something that could rocket like a missile but steered like a waterbed. Insurance companies took notice as crash reports stacked up, some tragically fatal. Facing mounting pressure, Plymouth quietly pulled the option mid-year, leaving fewer than a dozen built, many wrecked or scrapped. Today it's a rare and haunting relic, a reminder that in the race for power, automakers sometimes built too much car for their own good. Number 11, the 1957 Nash Ambassador. Picture yourself in 1957, shopping for a sleek new sedan that promised cutting-edge technology. The Nash Ambassador V8 twin-stick sounded like a vision of the future, a semi-automatic transmission with two separate shift levers designed to give drivers more control without a clutch pedal. But that innovation quickly became a driver's nightmare. Instead of making driving easier, the twin-stick demanded a complex dance of shifting between high and low ranges and selecting gears manually without clear instructions. Drivers stalled in intersections, jerked to a halt in traffic, or found themselves stuck in neutral with no idea how to get going again. Even experienced drivers were baffled by the clunky, fragile linkages that bent, bound up, or simply failed under normal use. Dealerships dreaded demonstrating it. Customers left confused or furious. Reports of breakdowns during sales events embarrassed the brand, and internal pressure mounted. By the end of the year, Nash quietly killed the option, recalled cars, and converted them back to traditional automatics. Today, it stands as a cautionary tale that sometimes advanced really means overcomplicated and best forgotten. Number 10, the 1970 Ford Torino. Now, imagine buying a car built straight from NASCAR's fiercest battles, designed to dominate the high-banked turns at Daytona and Talladega. The 1970 Ford Torino Talladega Super Cobra Jet boasted a 429 cubic inch V8 so ferocious it was practically a race engine in street clothes. Add a sleek, aerodynamic nose cone, and you had a rocket ship on wheels. But that track-bred design didn't play nice on American roads. At highway speeds, the long, low front end created lift and instability, while the suspension, tuned for smooth, banked tracks, felt twitchy and unpredictable on real-world pavement. Drivers reported nasty high-speed wobbles and hair-raising understeer as the car struggled to stay planted. Insurance companies were horrified. Premiums skyrocketed, dealerships couldn't move them, and Ford faced growing backlash over a car that was simply too extreme for everyday drivers. Internally, they knew they'd pushed too far. Production was cut short, with fewer than 70 units ever built before the model was quietly retired. Today, it's a rare and coveted relic, a reminder that sometimes the line between race car and street car should never be crossed. Number 9, the 1965 Chrysler 300L. Picture slipping behind the wheel of an elegant, full-sized American sedan, leather seats, chrome gleaming, only to unleash the fury of a 426 cubic inch max wedge Fez 8 built for the drag strip. That was the promise of the 1965 Chrysler 300L Ram Charger package, the dignity of a luxury cruiser with the raw violence of a race engine. On paper, it was irresistible. Chrysler wanted to offer buyers the thrill of 11-second quarter miles without sacrificing comfort. But reality hit hard. The car's drivetrain simply couldn't handle the power. Transmissions shattered, drive shafts twisted apart, and rear differentials grenaded under the insane torque. These failures didn't just leave owners stranded, they sometimes caused terrifying loss of control at highway speeds. Accidents piled up, lawsuits followed, and Chrysler's legal department sounded the alarm. Meanwhile, traditional luxury buyers recoiled from the jarring disconnect between plush interiors and savage power delivery. Under mounting pressure, Chrysler scrapped the package after building only a handful. Today, it's a whispered legend, a cautionary tale that even the best luxury car can turn dangerous when you drop a dragster's heart under its hood. Number 8. The 1959 Pontiac Catalina. Imagine a classic American family wagon, big enough for the kids, the dog, and half the neighborhood, but with the heart of a true muscle car beating under the hood. That was the dream behind the 1959 Pontiac Catalina Tri-Power Wagon, which boasted a 389 cubic inch V8 with a triple carburetor setup, pushing over 300 horsepower. It sounded brilliant, a wagon that could haul groceries all week and blow the doors off coupes on Sunday. And on paper, it worked. The big engine delivered startling acceleration, with a deep, aggressive exhaust note that seemed to laugh at the idea of family car. But there was a dark side. The brakes, basic drum setups of the era, were completely overwhelmed, turning panic stops into dangerous prayers. The rear axle and leaf springs, never designed for that much torque, failed catastrophically in some cases, leading to frightening crashes. As accidents and warranty claims piled up, Pontiac realized they'd gone too far. The option was quietly dropped, remaining wagons were often retrofitted, and the dream of a true muscle wagon died before it really lived. Today, it's a lost chapter, a glimpse of what might have been if safety had kept pace with power. Number 7. The 1962 Dodge Custom. Picture a big, stately American sedan designed for smooth cruising and Sunday drives. But under its hood, engineers decided to shoehorn in a massive 413 cubic inch V8, topped with Dodge's radical cross-ram intake system. This intake featured long, sweeping runners designed to pack the cylinders with air at high RPMs, delivering eye-watering torque and horsepower. But there was a problem. The engine bay wasn't designed for such a beast. To make it fit, Dodge engineers had to cut and reshape the hood, leaving barely enough clearance and compromising heat management. Under normal driving, the engine ran hot. Under spirited driving, it turned the engine bay into a blast furnace. During testing, that heat became catastrophic. Fuel vapors, hot components, and cramped space led to an underhood fire during an aggressive run. No one was hurt, but the message was clear. Dodge executives realized they'd created a sedan that was literally too hot to handle. Fearing lawsuits and ruined reputations, they pulled the plug immediately, scrapping the project before it could embarrass the brand further. Today, it's remembered as a bold experiment that went up in smoke, literally. Number 6. The 1971 Chevrolet Chevel. Imagine a police cruiser that looked completely ordinary on the outside, but packed a 454 cubic inch LS, 5 big block V8 under the hood, built to outrun the era's fastest getaway cars. That was the idea behind the 1971 Chevrolet Chevel 454 Black Ops Police Unit, a covert pursuit vehicle designed for unmatched speed and surprise. It worked at first. Officers loved having the element of stealth, cruising in what looked like a regular sedan, but with 360-plus horsepower on tap. When suspects hit the gas, the Chevel could reel them in effortlessly, leaving most crooks stunned and cuffed. But there was a high cost to all that muscle. The engine's monstrous torque shredded transmissions and strained the differentials to failure. Even with upgraded brakes, repeated high-speed stops wore them out quickly, requiring constant maintenance. Worse, at high speeds, the car's heavy nose and old-school suspension made handling unpredictable, leading to dangerous crashes. As costs and liability fears mounted, departments quietly pulled them from service after barely a year. Today, they're a legend among old-school cops, a reminder that while power can be a useful tool, too much of it can turn from asset to liability in the blink of an eye. Number 5. The 1964 Lincoln Continental. Now, picture one of America's most prestigious luxury coupes, famous for its quiet ride, elegant styling, and presidential-level comfort. Then imagine the engineers at Lincoln deciding to turn it into a muscle car by stuffing in a 430 cubic inch V8 with dual 4-barrel carburetors. The result? The 1964 Lincoln Continental Coupe 430 Dual Quad, a car that wanted to be both boardroom smooth and drag strip mean. At idle, it rumbled like a beast in a tuxedo. On the open road, it surged forward with raw, snarling power, easily keeping up with the era's muscle machines. But that didn't impress Lincoln's typical buyers, wealthy conservative drivers who valued silence and refinement over tire smoke. Worse, the Continental's soft suspension and modest brakes weren't designed to rein in all that fury. Hard stops became white-knuckle events, and the handling lost its dignified composure. Faced with customer backlash and internal fears of damaging the brand's stately image, Lincoln killed the project quickly and quietly. Today, it's remembered as a curious experiment, proof that sometimes you can't just add muscle to class and expect it to work. Number 4. The 1955 Hudson Hornet. Imagine the golden age of stock car racing, when Hudson's agile Hornet had already made a name for itself dominating dirt ovals with its low center of gravity and sharp handling. But by 1955, competitors were showing up with bigger, more powerful V8s, leaving Hudson searching for an answer. Their solution? A secret prototype that dropped a massive Packard 5.8 into the lightweight Hornet chassis. It wasn't just a simple swap, it was a feat of brilliant engineering. They reinforced the frame, modified the mounts, and carefully tuned the suspension. On test tracks, it was blisteringly fast, tearing out of corners with raw torque while maintaining the Hornet's famed agility. Drivers and engineers believed it was their ticket back to NASCAR glory. But there was a catch. NASCAR's strict homologation rules required race cars to use parts available to the public, and mixing brands was outright forbidden. Hudson and Packard were separate companies. When NASCAR got wind of the hybrid, they banned it immediately. Hudson's dream weapon never saw a green flag. The project was shelved, prototypes quietly scrapped. Today, it's a legendary what if among racing fans. A reminder that sometimes the biggest barriers aren't on the track, but in the rulebook. Number 3. The 1972 Dodge Demon. Picture a compact American muscle car designed to be light, agile, and affordable, suddenly getting the heart of a fire-breathing monster. That was Dodge's bold plan for the 1972 Demon 446-pack project. Take the small, feisty Demon body and cram in a 440 cubic inch big block V8 topped with 3 2-barrel carburetors. The goal? Deliver jaw-dropping straight-line speed that would embarrass far pricier competitors. On paper, it was irresistible. The big 446-pack was legendary for its explosive torque and brutal acceleration. But once engineers actually wedged it under the hood, the problems were impossible to ignore. The front-heavy layout destroyed the car's balance, making it nosedive under braking and understeer in corners. High-speed testing revealed dangerous snap-oversteer if you dared to push it. Meanwhile, the brakes weren't nearly up to the task, leaving drivers praying at every hard stop. Insurance companies balked at the risk, threatening sky-high premiums or refusing coverage altogether. Lawyers worried about lawsuits from wrecks and injuries. Dodge, seeing the writing on the wall, scrapped the entire project, ordering prototypes dismantled. Today it's a mythical what could have been, proving that sometimes too much power is just too much trouble. Number 2. The 1966 AMC Marlin. Now, imagine a company best known for economy and practicality, suddenly deciding to chase the muscle car craze. That was AMC's gamble with the 1966 Marlin 343 Typhoon. The Marlin already had distinctive fastback styling, aimed at drivers wanting a little flair, but AMC wanted to give it real muscle by dropping in a 343 cubic inch V8 with plenty of torque and power to challenge Detroit's big boys. On paper, a smart move to attract younger buyers, but the Marlin's chassis wasn't built for it. Test drivers found the suspension overwhelmed, with bushings and shocks wearing out rapidly. The extra weight up front ruined balance and steering precision. Even worse, the cooling system, designed for mild 6 cylinders, struggled to keep the big V8 from overheating in normal driving. Inside AMC, there was serious debate. Executives worried the Typhoon would confuse loyal buyers who wanted affordable, reliable cars, not expensive, maintenance-hungry hot rods. They feared alienating their core market. In the end, they pulled the plug before launch, quietly shelving the project. Today, it's remembered as a lost opportunity, a glimpse at what AMC might have been if they dared to fully embrace the muscle car wars. Number 1, the 1954 Chevrolet Handyman. Picture the classic American family wagon. Boxy, practical, built to haul kids, groceries, and luggage without fuss. But what if you slipped under the hood an engine designed for America's first true sports car? That was the experiment behind the 1954 Chevrolet Handyman wagon, with a Corvette inline 6 fitted with dual carburetors to deliver far more pep than any wagon had a right to. Test drivers were stunned. The wagon felt surprisingly quick, with sharp throttle response and a lively character that made mundane chores fun. It hinted at a future where family haulers could also be drivers' cars, long before sport wagon was even a thing. But Chevrolet's brass saw danger. Giving the humble handyman that kind of performance threatened to dilute the Corvette's exclusive image. They feared buyers wouldn't see the Corvette as special if a family wagon could nearly match its spirit. Insurance concerns also loomed. Who wanted to cover a wagon that could outrun sedans? So, Chevy killed the project quietly, recalled test cars, and dismantled them. Today it's a forgotten experiment, a tantalizing what-if that showed American engineers were dreaming big, even if marketing wasn't ready to let them. These cars weren't just metal and rubber. They were the embodiment of American ambition, the kind that sometimes went too far for its own good. Each one is a reminder that pushing the envelope can lead to brilliance or disaster. They teach us that power without control is a double-edged sword, no matter how good it looks, gleaming in the showroom lights. Which of these forgotten legends surprised you most? Or maybe you've got your own story of a car that was too wild to last. We'd love to hear your memories and thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this ride through America's banned and buried automotive history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next journey. There are still so many hidden tales, lost dreams, and engineering marvels waiting to be uncovered, and we can't wait to share them with you. Let's keep these stories alive, one conversation at a time.